Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button and keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. Alright folks, here we are on Sunday, August 27th. We're going to take a look at Faraday Future Intelligent Electric, FFIE. Now, I have the news tab up here just to point out that there is a reverse split that's happening on August 28th, which is tomorrow, Monday. And this will obviously shift the share price that we're talking about today. So what I thought we would do is come in and put some levels on the chart today where it might sort of be able to find some support and resistance, any trend lines. And then what I'll plan to do is a follow-up video either tomorrow night or Tuesday and sort of take a look at where the price action has been heading based on the levels that we put in today, but with the adjustment for the new stock price. So unless something changes, previously if we put levels in pre-reverse split or pre-split for that matter, Webull and Thinkorswim do a good job of just, transitioning everything really well, and you don't really lose a bunch of fidelity of what you put in. So we're going to start here on Webull, and then we're going to flip over to Thinkorswim, and we'll call it a video. And like I said, then we'll go ahead and follow up. But in this case, if you were to put some of these levels or put your own levels in on your own charting software, you might be able to see how these shift anyway. So one thing that I want to point out is this seemingly only partially filled huge gap down. So if it wants to at some point come and fill this gap, you see there was this day here, which was mid-June, and then the next day it dropped over 37%. And so it left this pretty large gap here on the daily, and then it came and partially filled it. You can see it filled it up through this wick here, and then still left a bunch of gap to be filled. So that pushes it up at the current rate up toward the 40-cent mark if it wants to come in and fill that gap, and it would enter that gap around the 34, 35-cent mark. So that's one thing that stands out to me. Now, getting a little bit closer into where the current price action sits, there's this previous floor here at 14.8. Let's see if I can. So it always gets a little tricky with the volume candles wanting to pop onto the screen. But that 14.8 level previously sort of triple bottomed over the course of 3 days and then made a nice run, established a new floor here, which we could put in the moment as well, right around 18-19 cents, and then maybe one right around here as well. Yeah, this is the stronger level in my opinion, but I mean that's quite far away at this point. But floor at 14.8 came up, established a new floor at 18.19 and reconfirmed that here, and then reestablished a yet higher floor at 21.5, and then that gave it this nice push up, with an attempt toward 50 cents eventually. But obviously it wasn't able to get there, and then had, like I had just mentioned, that huge sell-off and subsequent crushing of the price. So from all of that price action though, since it happened historically, we get some nice levels that we could put in that may indicate support and resistance levels that we can look for in future price action. So I'll put these in here. It's interesting, some are relatively tight in, some are kind of gappy feeling. That 29 one might not be that strong, but we'll see. Okay, maybe there's something to it. Yeah, okay. Now that I look at where it sort of played out, I have a little bit more confidence in it. So in any case, those are the levels that I'd be looking at. Now, there's not much to look for to the downside. So we'll take a look at Thinkorswim. That will maybe give us a bit of a better indication of what could happen if sell-off continues, and what it sort of looks like when you end up in no man's land, which is what happens when you're at the low point here. You just end up with, okay, we don't really have any previous price action to gauge anything off of anymore. There's also this downtrend. This is putting in maybe a more aggressive view of it, but if we wanted to say that these candles were attempted breaks, attempted break to the upside here and then quickly sort of petered out, and then it got sucked right back down into it and has since reconfirmed that downtrend. That is sort of the look that I would take on it, but we'll see. So if it does start to play between this, say, 15 and 19 levels, it'll inevitably develop some additional price action and levels that are important. So we can keep an eye out for that. Say there's another one right there at 18. So it seems silly to have 18 and then 18.9 because it's a fraction of a penny away. But again, a stock with this low of a price, you look here, it dropped just shy of 3 cents on Friday, and that was almost 16%. So you have pretty significant percentage impact, even though it's a low price. Flipping over here to Thinkorswim, we get a nice view of the channel that it's been in, obviously pressing the lower bound of the channel at the moment. This EMA cloud up here is the 180 to 200, so it has quite a bit of resistance, but that's very far away at this point. It's about, 4x the share price or so. So, a long way to go there. You see this triggering that was happening a few days ago, and this is still on the daily, FYI. Triggering that was happening a few days ago, and then when it fired, pushed down further. Not really a shocking move. I mean, this has been a rather volatile stock anyway, so I know that we talked about just in a day it was over 15% down, but this to me wasn't a huge move from trigger and then a fire. There's still obviously were gains to be made there and whatnot, but it's just to say I think the future could yield better trigger than fire. This, at least when this fired after this trigger, it pushed itself out of the channel twice. So that's, to me, maybe a bit more of something. That said, it may push itself out the bottom of the channel now, and so it might sort of accumulate over the course of many days of firing to be another relatively significant move to the downside. So we'll see if that's the case. This just might still be playing out, and I'm being a bit too hard on it. Now, where it's situated in the channel, like I said, it's sort of slipping out the bottom bound of the channel at the moment. Typically, what I would look for, if I want to look at what it did to the upside here, is when it presses out the upside or the downside of the channel, basically when it leaves the channel, I look for it to revert to that blue line in the middle, the mid-range of the channel. Now, if it has a really strong momentum, and here's the momentum that you can see on the TTM squeeze, it may come down and just ride that green uptrend cloud and not even come down and retest support here before once again leaving the channel. But ultimately what happens, it comes down, tests the middle range of the channel the very next day, loses it, and that pushes it nearly to the bottom bound, regains support over that mid-range, and then is able to push to the upper bound, but once again reverts to the mid-range. Now, with the corporate actions and the news stories being what they are, I wouldn't be surprised if this has some strong momentum that continues to pick up and may push it further out of the channel before it tries to retrace back to the midpoint of the channel. And that midpoint of the channel is going to shift anyway, not only because the change in the price due to the reverse split, but also the channel and these price points shift every time a candle is put in. So as additional candles put in, it'll give us a better indication of it. Does it continue to push out of the channel? Does it, for whatever reason, actually pretty quickly come back and try to test the mid-range? we'll have to see. The mid-range right now is sitting about 23 cents. So another, pretty significant percentage change if it were to attempt to do that. But yet another reason why it would make sense to come back in and do a follow-up video and see what it's doing with the channel and what the different ranges look like as the price shifts and as the channel shifts. Now, TTM squeeze indicator showing increasing bearish momentum as you would expect at the moment. Does that continue to flourish and expand, or does it start to sort of reach a peak and die down like we saw here? We'll have to wait and see, but those will be additional things to look at in the follow-up video. Is that momentum continuing to pick up, or is it starting to wane a little bit and maybe giving it an opportunity or an opening for some push back into or toward the midline of that channel? All right, folks, I hope that your weekend went well and that your trading week gets off to a good start tomorrow. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.